Mm. Hey there, welcome to Pop Culture Cupid.
I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
And I'm Michal, I'm a single life coach. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self-relationship.
In this podcast, we will look at how pop culture impacts romance, dating, and your love life.
And each week we'll shoot another arrow through another pop culture delusion.
I thought we weren't going to do the whole cheesy thing.
And then burst into smithereens.
Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe!
Sorry, it's in the intro now.
If you make it through the chaos and you enjoy what you hear, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go to all the social media.
At Pop Culture Cupid on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy!
Sign.
Recording in progress.
Okay, that went smoothly. Take 2 of episode of Lori Gottlieb and Steven Bartlett part 2. So to let everybody in behind the curtain of the ins and outs of this fabulous podcast, we just took 5 minutes and decided we're going to do a part 2 of the previous conversation, because the podcast in itself lasted an hour and 45 minutes, the one we're talking about. So, we can't really cover it in just one episode. There's
so much more to say.
But before we go in, we've been getting a couple of comments, but mainly one that you saw. Do you want to say something about it?
Well, it was someone who, I think it was a clip, because it was a clip that I took out of the podcast and put it on YouTube, of myself talking about, it was part of a much larger conversation about talking about victimhood, and how, so she was saying that what we were doing was victim blaming, because there's certain aspects of being a victim that need to be spoken about, and that it's important to raise it, and for some people they need to talk about it, and how it's unfair to say that they're complaining or victimizing themselves, where I think it's important to make that distinction between being a victim and victimizing yourself. Because I think in that specific conversation we also weren't really talking about people who were actually victims. It was just people who were making a victim out of themselves. And I think a lot of times people harp on the victimhood card, or they use it as excuses to treat other people badly, or to not do anything with in their life, and to stay stuck in their place, and they use it as an excuse for their bad behavior. And I think it's important to make that distinction, because if we can't tell a person that they're not being okay because they may be a victim to someone else, then that's a problem, because then that continues this cycle of people just being able to use their victimhood as an excuse. So I'm saying 2 things here, basically. That one, there's a difference between being a victim and deciding that you're a victim and just harping on the victimhood, and actually being a victim, but then using it as an excuse, harping on it, not to say that you're at fault or you're to blame for being a victim, which wasn't said in any way in that video. But it's important to also know how at some point to say, I am taking charge and I'm taking responsibility, and I'm refusing to let that define me in my life.
Yeah, I completely agree. And and I think we specifically said, like, we're not victim blaming, but obviously in a short clip, you can't, you're not going to put the whole thing. And I understand, like, where this person might be coming from. Some people lived really tough things, and they need to be kind of seen, and I don't know if the word is honored, but like just seen and received in that moment. And I 100% agree with that. But then what you're saying is, but that can't define you, which I also agree with. But specifically, some people who are not victims, like, and that just kind of create the drama around something that doesn't need any drama. And I can't remember exactly what the episode was, but I'm, this is what I feel, so I'm pretty sure this is what we were saying of, yeah, sometimes you need like victims, and sometimes you need to talk about these intense things that are happening to you, whatever that happened. Some people are just playing the victim card when they're just not, and they're oh, this toxic masculinity and blah blah blah. That's just wrong. Like, you fucked up, he fucked up, move on. Like, nobody's a victim here. And it's on, making a difference. And so how, everybody's living through trauma, and everybody's depressed, and everybody's, I agree that it's a spectrum, but it's, and what's important to you is definitely important and shouldn't be compared to the world's tragedies. But you therefore don't compare yourself to the world's tragedies, type of thing. So, I mean, thanks for the comment. I think it's interesting, and
no, it's an important thing. I'm glad they pointed it out, because I'm glad that now we can clarify, because it really is an important distinction between, actually being a victim to something and being able to use your voice to not only work through it, but also help others. I think it's important for victims to speak up and talk about what they're going through, and not only for themselves, but also for everyone else and for the world. But there are a lot of people who are either playing on the fact that, being a victim is glorified these days, or how, it's the easy excuse or the easy way out of anything.
Yeah.
And, what they see these days, I don't know, like, if someone from your background or race or religion or whatever is being victimized for who they are, but you're not, but you're anyway gonna roll with it and play the victim because, someone else with the same criteria is being victimized, then that's not okay, because you're creating a bigger issue than it was. And it's funny because it was from an episode that I was looking it up. It was from an episode that we're talking about Love is Blind.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember what the whole conversation was about, but yeah.
So thanks for comments. And we also enjoy the men that tell us that we're wrong. Please keep those comments coming, because the views on social media, like, the more you comment, the more people
we
see
want
our
more
videos.
comments. I actually, bring it on. I think it's important. It's also great inspiration for conversations between us and for the podcast. But I think, it brings more traffic, it brings more discussions, and it brings more
interactions.
And I think it's we love the men who tell us that, we're old hags who no one's going to want to date and end up alone with 10 cats. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I had someone a comment not long ago. He was like, you're going to end up all alone with your 10 cats or what, something like that, with your cats. And I was like, I'm actually a dog person, but thanks. So even though Ev has a cat, so like we're very different in that way. So
I'm the cat person and JT's a dog person. I mean, I love animals. Oh my god, I'm a 10th of the way there. I've got a cat. I'm a 10th of the way there. Damn it.
Amazing.
Anyway, get back to the more interesting topics than becoming crazy cat ladies, or dog ladies. So Lori Bartlett, and so we finished off on about
Lori Bartlett. I love that.
Oh no, Lori Gottlieb and Steven Bartlett. I think she's married and he's in a relationship. That just doesn't work. Anyway, you said you had more notes, so I'm gonna wait for you to kind of prompt.
There was actually something that she said right in the beginning, I think it was, and they didn't. I think she might have dived into it in another podcast that I watched, and I might be conflating the two conversations that she had about this. But she was talking about how when we want change in our life, when we want something to change in our life, then we expect someone else to do the changing. Gesundheit. And
Thank you.
yeah, Alison just sneezed for everybody. And she turned off the mic so she wouldn't bother and so she wouldn't make a fuss, and then I went ahead and brought it up anyway. Sorry. I blame the time. Yeah, so anyway, we something isn't working in our life, and we feel like we need something to change, but we're not willing to do the change. We want someone else to do the change. We want someone else to change and to adapt. And because that's like the easy choice, right? We want other people. We can't possibly be wrong. We can't possibly be doing anything that needs changing. And so we expect everyone else around us to adapt and to change, but we're not willing to do it ourselves.
Yeah, so. It's this thing of, I think I have such interesting conversations with different women, and therefore I forget who I have them with. You know, I think when you start, and I was definitely a victim of this, because I was on such a huge path of development and like working on myself and things like that, that I had very specific ideas of what other people should be doing, because I kept thinking to myself, like, I'm so right, like, oh my god, I've realized that I'm completely right in this, like everybody else should do exactly what I do because I'm so right. And it took a while, and humbling situations where I was completely wrong, and other situations when I wasn't so, I wasn't wrong, but other people were right in a different way, because that's just the way it is. And having these expectations of, I definitely was thinking, they should adapt to me and not me to them because I'm so right. And during that whole time, I was single, because and I wasn't even, I'm exaggerating it now, but that's probably how I came off to people, of just like, yeah, she's nice, but oh my god, is she so completely up herself? And there is no right or wrong answer, and so it's just finding a middle. And she uses the word, sorry.
No, go on.
She uses the word compromise that I don't like, because compromise today has the connotation of I'm kind of giving up on something that I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to go with something that's different to who you are, it's an opportunity to grow and become something better. If you're going to take the image
open-minded
of yeah, exactly, and just intertwining and becoming something completely new, whereas if both on a straight line, and it's not, you're not compromising, but you're not creating something completely different.
Exactly. And I think it's hard to be with someone or to create conversation with someone when you're not willing to listen, or when you're listening but you're still like assuming that you're going to be right no matter what they say, and you're unable to open up your mind to other perspectives or to other opinions. And we get so stubborn because we don't want, it's very hard for us to admit that we're wrong. It's very hard for us as humans to change our minds. And I think there's a quote that I'm probably going to butcher because I can't remember it exactly, where it's something like, one of the hardest things to do is to unlearn something and then relearn it again. There's something about that. I should probably look it up and say it properly. But and I think there's a strength to that when you're able to say that you're wrong, or you're able to say I may not know everything, or you're able to say that this is my opinion. It doesn't mean that everyone has to think the exact same way as I do. This is my opinion, and you have your opinions, and that's okay. It's okay for us, and even probably good for us, to not have the exact same opinions. And each person brings their own perspective, and together, when you're in a relationship, you create a new perspective together while still each having your own. When you're creating an open space, an environment where you can just be yourself, and you're able to share without feeling bad, or without bringing the other person down, or without constantly having to have a person who's right in the situation